April 1953, the program that should never have existed. A mental patient in Kentucky is given LSD, not just once, not for a few days, for 174 consecutive days, nearly 6 months of continuous psychedelic dosing. He has no idea what's happening to him. He didn't consent. He can't fight back. This wasn't rogue doctors conducting illegal experiments. This was the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America, operating with full government approval, systematically testing mind control drugs on American citizens. The program was called MKUltra. It ran from 1953 to 1964, and what the CIA did during those years represents one of the darkest chapters in American government history. This is the story of how your government tried to control the human mind and the terrifying methods they used to do it. The fear that started it all. To understand MKUltra, you need to understand early 1950s paranoia. The Cold War was escalating. The US had lost its nuclear monopoly. American POWs returned from Korea seeming like different people, parroting communist propaganda. The CIA became convinced Soviets had developed mind control techniques, brainwashing, thought manipulation. On April 9, 1953, CIA Director Alan Welsh Dulles gave a speech warning about Soviet brain perversion techniques and brain warfare. 3 days later, on April 13, 1953, Dulles approved MKUltra, a top-secret program for covert use of biological and chemical materials. The irony is staggering. Dulles condemned Soviet mind control as abhorrent. Then he authorized the CIA to do the same to American citizens. The mastermind, Sidney Gottlieb. The man chosen to run MKUltra was Sidney Gottlieb, a CIA chemist who would become known as the agency's poisoner-in-chief. Gottlieb was brilliant, ruthless, and utterly convinced that mind control was achievable. Under his direction, MKUltra became what journalist Stephen Kinzer calls the most sustained search in history for techniques of mind control. Gottlieb's approach was simple: test everything. Try every drug, every technique, every method that might unlock the secrets of the human mind. LSD, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, radiation, chemicals, toxins, biological agents. Nothing was off limits. Ethics were irrelevant. Consent was optional. In the early 1950s, the CIA bought the world's entire supply of LSD for $240,000, equivalent to over $4.2 million today. Gottlieb distributed it to prisons, hospitals, clinics, and research institutions across America. In 1953, the CIA even considered purchasing 10 kilograms of LSD, enough for 100 million doses, to prevent other countries from controlling the supply. The victims, who the CIA experimented on. MKUltra didn't target enemy spies. It targeted the most vulnerable Americans, mental patients, prisoners, drug addicts, prostitutes, people who could not fight back, as one CIA officer admitted. Federal prisons. Mobster Whitey Bulger received LSD for months in Atlanta. He later wrote, "I was in prison for committing a crime, but they committed a greater crime on me." Mental hospitals. One Kentucky patient received LSD for 174 consecutive days. Universities. Georgetown University Hospital's Gorman Annex was CIA funded to provide human patients and volunteers for experimental use. Military facilities. American soldiers were dosed without knowledge or consent. CIA safe houses. Prostitutes lured unsuspecting men. The CIA drugged them and observed through two-way mirrors. The experiments weren't limited to LSD. Montreal's Allen Memorial Institute conducted psychic driving and depatterning, subjecting patients to continuous recorded messages while heavily sedated, attempting to erase memories and rebuild personalities. Other programs tested electroshock, radiation, sensory deprivation, sleep deprivation, and isolation chambers. The death of Frank Olson, murder or suicide. One case became impossible to hide: Dr. Frank Olson. Olson was an Army biochemist working at Fort Detrick on biological weapons research. In November 1953, he attended a CIA meeting where his drink was secretly spiked with LSD. Olson had no idea he'd been drugged. Over the following week, he became increasingly paranoid and distressed. On November 28, 1953, he fell or jumped from a 10th-story hotel window in New York City. The official story: suicide caused by depression. The truth: Olson had been given LSD without his knowledge as part of MKUltra. His death was a direct result of CIA experimentation. The CIA covered it up for 22 years. Olson's family didn't learn the truth until 1975, when congressional investigations finally exposed MKUltra. Over 150 secret subprojects. MKUltra was an umbrella for over 150 separate subprojects exploring different mind control methods. Subproject 54, Navy's perfect concussion program using suboral frequency blasts to erase memory. MKNAOMI, developing biological agents for use against humans, animals, and crops. MKSearch, continued mind control research after MKUltra officially ended. MKDELTA, testing drugs and techniques on foreign nationals. Many subprojects were conducted at respected universities. Professors received grants from CIA front organizations without knowing who really funded their work. 185 non-government researchers participated. Most were never prosecuted. Many never knew the CIA funded them. The cover-up, destroying the evidence. By the early 1960s, both Dulles and Gottlieb realized mind control was impossible, at least with their methods. The program was quietly wound down, but evidence remained. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered MKUltra records destroyed. Thousands of documents shredded to prevent outrage and prosecution. The destruction was nearly complete, but in 1977, 7 boxes of documents, about 700 pages, were accidentally discovered in budget archives. They'd been misfiled and escaped destruction. These surviving documents revealed MKUltra's horrors. The investigations, 1975 to 1977. In December 1974, New York Times reporter Seymour Hersh published a bombshell exposing illegal CIA operations, including MKUltra. 3 investigations followed. The Rockefeller Commission, 1975, uncovered MKUltra details and Olson's death. The Church Committee, 1975 to 1976. Senate hearings led by Senator Frank Church exposed CYA abuses. Senate hearings, 1977. Senator Edward Kennedy oversaw additional MKUltra-focused hearings. CIA officials claimed they couldn't remember details. Most records were destroyed. Investigations were hampered at every turn. What they uncovered? Systematic human rights violations, illegal drug testing, deaths, psychological torture, and complete disregard for medical ethics. MKUltra violated the Hippocratic Oath, U.S. Constitution, Nuremberg Code, and UN Declaration of Human Rights. The legacy, no justice. Despite congressional condemnation, no CIA officials were ever criminally prosecuted for MKUltra. Gottlieb retired in 1972 and dismissed his entire MKUltra effort as useless. He lived peacefully until his death in 1999, never facing consequences. Richard Helms, who ordered the destruction of evidence, was convicted only of lying to Congress, a misdemeanor. He received a suspended sentence and a $2,000 fine. The researchers, doctors, and institutions that conducted experiments, most were never investigated. Victims received minimal compensation. The Olson family eventually received $750,000 and an apology from President Gerald Ford, but only after going public. Most victims never knew they'd been part of MKUltra. Many died without ever learning the truth. From 1953 to 1964, the CIA conducted illegal mind control experiments on American citizens. They drugged mental patients for months. They dosed prisoners without consent. They tested chemicals on soldiers. They operated safe houses where civilians were drugged and observed. They violated every ethical standard. They broke laws. They destroyed lives. When it was over, they destroyed evidence, claimed amnesia, and escaped prosecution. MKUltra represents government power meeting Cold War paranoia. It's proof that national security can justify any atrocity if left unchecked. The program ended in 1964. Evidence destroyed in 1973. Truth emerged in 1975 to 1977. Questions remain. How many victims never came forward? How many records were successfully destroyed? And most disturbingly, what programs replaced MKUltra? We may never know the full truth, but what we know is terrifying enough. Did you know about MKUltra before this? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this deep dive into dark government history opened your eyes, smash that like button and subscribe for more documented history. The establishment tried to hide. Hit the bell so you don't miss future investigations. Thanks for watching. Question everything.